It is the Beast Mechanical set from QLE, I guess? That's what it seems to say on the side of the box. I'm Captain Kyle, and I've got this third-party set of Dinobots that merges into a large dude. I guess you could call him Volcanicus if you want. And I'm going to go through each of these figures and then merge them together to form a huge combiner robot that can destroy. Well, I mean, it's a toy, so. But I'll go through it bit by bit, and maybe it'll be good for your collection. Be right back. So on the back, it's kind of hard to see in the close-up cam because the close-up cam is a little too close-up. But you can see each of them are in their dino and bot modes. And then in the middle is a giant robot. Don't know his name, but we'll go with Volcanicus. Now I'm going to take this box and we don't need it because that's an empty box. I've already taken the guys out. We have a version of Snarl. Me, Grimlock, Dinobot leader. We also have like Scarr, oddly enough, Slag, and Sludge. What we don't have is a Swoop. Unfortunately, Swoop is not included in this set. He's been replaced with basically Scarr, but it's still a neat set despite the lack of aerial support, and we're gonna go through them. And I have to say, these might just be some of the best third-party versions of the Dinobots I've seen in a very long time. I mean, what they do not do is look exactly like the actual Dinobots on the show, but they have other things that I really like about them. Be nice if the faces were a little bit better. So let's take a look at me, Grimlock, not sure why I have mouth instead of moving mouthpiece. Yes, if you look really close, hopefully that will focus in, you can see that his face actually boasts a mouth instead of the normal Grimlock face mask. He is well armed, he's got a sword here. He's got this kind of shield thing, but it also can be used as a massive blaster with two really large guns, so he can be really well armed. Me, Grimlock, destroy everyone. Yeah, that you're sounding more like a Decepticon. I mean, you're not wearing an Autobot symbol because you're third party, but well, let's take a look. I'm going to remove the weapons, and the reason they weren't in the box is because I wanted to go through these guys very thoroughly before I show them to you, so could show you all their aspects. But there he is on the turntable of doom, and you can see he's a very interesting looking bot. He's got this gold stuff on his back, which is actually more for the merged mode, but it works for other things too. And amazingly, not a lot of kibble. He doesn't have the wings on the back with the little arms. He doesn't have any type of real kibble. I mean, you can see stuff inside the back of his legs, but he's very robot formed. And that's what I like about all these guys is they look like robots. You don't necessarily know what they change into until they transform. Whereas he's not in G1 form, he does have like a red chest piece, which Grimlock's was a little bit different. You can see gold highlights. He is a nice looking figure. Maybe an alternate universe Grimlock. But let's get through some posability. Now, on his feet, he does not have any type of ankle swivels, but they're kind of wide feet, so you can spread his legs if you want and have him in a dynamic pose. He can do, with a little cheating, a full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. He does that, the toes up part, because he's got the swivel. No swivel at the actual hip joint. It's actually right above the knee. But he can kick forward, not super high, but he's got a little bit slight double jointedness, but he can kick high. Well, kick someone in the crotch at least. Backwards, does not go that far back, but he can do quite a good sidekick. Twisting, unfortunately this guy does not twist at the waist. It would interfere with part of the transformation. So that is a minus, but he's still a nice looking figure. The arms can go all the way around, though you have to kind of maneuver it out in order to get it around this back piece. He bends at the elbow, he can go off to the side, and you can also have it off to the side this way. There's no swivel there. There is, as I showed with the Jean-Claude Van Damme swivel with the legs, but no swivel with the arms. And the head can turn all the way around, and you can make some slight adjustments if you want. You can kind of give him a little bit of wings so it looks more like Snarl if you put those pointers out here, though I'm fine with them just being underneath and not visible from the front, really. But overall, a very cool dinosaur in disguise, a very cool robot figure. And it's got some posability. Ta-da! And put on some armament, and he's quite intimidating. So that's robot mode. One more turn on the turnstile of doom. Turntable of doom, whatever you want to call it. And let's get him into his beast mode. Well, Dinobot mode, Dino mode. Me, Grimlock, transform now. So there he is in dinosaur mode. Now his arms are pathetically short, that I will say. Much smaller even than the G1 stuff, so if he's got to itch his balls, he's got to find another way. Now, I kind of misspoke semi, because that gold piece on the back becomes his tail, but it also is key in the actual merged robot form. But yeah, he's got a gold tail. But overall, he's pretty cool. You are able to store the weapons if you want to, kind of on the side like this, and you can put the sword in here somehow. Don't really want to do that. I think it looks ugly. I mean, I like him as a dinosaur, and he's actually pretty poseable. I mean, you can move these forearms, if you can call them that. But the head moves up, the jaw opens, you can clamp down, so that's pretty cool. The tail doesn't really move, but the legs, you can actually change it into, you know, him practically sitting or him standing much taller. So it's actually a pretty good dino mode. Now in dino mode, if you go from like this position, he is about almost 5.5 inches tall. But what I definitely like about this guy is how when you get him into his robot mode, you can't really see a hell of a lot of the kibble. The dino head is hidden entirely inside the legs. The tail isn't even recognizable as a tail necessarily. And what's neat is his fists are hidden not by folding them away, but by putting the talons or claws or, you know, feet parts of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, plugging them in on either side. So to me, he's a pretty impressive figure just because everything hides so nicely and he's got a good amount of posability. And he stands about 5.5 inches, maybe a hair over in height. And what's kind of neat is he's not really all that bigger than the other Dinobots, which you'll see. All right, I'm gonna give you your weapons and put you aside. Grimlock. Me, Grimlock, like weapons. And we'll move on to the next. We'll go with Slag. So there is Slag in his robot mode, and again, he doesn't have this big collar that just, I don't even know what you would call it. He looks like a robot with, you know, some little bit of kibble here and there, but not a ton. I mean, you can't really see much. His legs and some parts are hidden in the back of his robot legs. He's got this thing on his back, which you can't really tell much about it. He's a very cool looking, again, robot. And you're like, he changes into something, but I don't necessarily know what. I mean, you can see some of the roundness there on the legs, and you might say it's some kind of creature. And he does have these parts that are his dino feet on his wrists, but those are the clues that you get. A lot more hidden than the original G1. But there he is from all angles. He's got the very nice kind of Slag-like design on his chest. His face looks kind of like Slag, so that's a nice thing. He did have a mouth, but obviously it's black. Right, posability time. Again, no ankle rockers. And as far as a Jean-Claude Van Damme, he can only do a split. He can't do toes up. So that's a shame. But he can kick forward somewhat. It's got a little bit of double jointed there. Back somewhat. Side kicks, he's much better. There is twisting at the waist though, so that is nice for dynamic posing. The arm goes all the way around, not a problem, nothing to avoid. Bends at the elbow, no swivel, but you can move it out to the side, so that's a nice thing. It's on a ball joint there, and the head can turn all the way around. So again, a good representation of him, but again, without a lot of the kibble that we're normally used to seeing with Dinobots hanging off of him. All right, Dino mode. Oh, and he is one of the few that comes with his own just gun instead of a axe or sword or something like that. And this is a little shield that he has. And what's neat is all the shields and such become parts of the larger robot. So there is Slag. I don't know his third-party name. Triceratops Bullet Warrior. Yeah, we're not going with those names. But again, he's just definitely a Stegosaurus. He's got the shield here. The mouth, his jaw does open, which is cool. He's got some mobility with the legs. The legs can move forward and back. The back legs as well. No real tail articulation, but overall a very cool looking dinosaur. And again, from what we looked at in the robot mode, it's like, oh, surprise, he's a Stegosaurus. So I definitely like him in his dino mode. From snout to tail, he's a little bit over 6 inches. In robot mode, he's about 5.5 inches tall. So as you can see, putting him next to Grimlock, be nice if I showed you the full picture. They're not really that much different in scale. In fact, they're about the same height. Just Grimlock has a little bit more width to him, which, you know, he should. Here we have Sludge. Now, Sludge is only supposed to come with this one weapon, but they gave me an extra one. So I'm like, hey, he could fight with 2, why not? He doesn't have a shield. He's the only Dinobot in this set who doesn't have some kind of shield. So might as well give him 2 weapons, so he can slice you up. But again, his face kind of looks like the original Dinobot Sludge. I didn't break out my original Dinobots to kind of compare side by side, but maybe at the end, before I merge them, I'll put them all next to each other in robot mode, so you can see the differences. Of course, I don't have a G1 Scarr. But again, a nice looking figure. You can tell he transforms into something, but he doesn't have a lot of stuff sticking out to inform you of what that is. We will remove these 2 very cool looking weapons and go through posability. I like his dino brother Slag. He does the full split, but not toes up. Can't kick forward very much, can't kick back very much. Side kicks are his jam. Meow. Also twists at the waist. Arms can go all the way around. There is no swivel, but there is the whole side thing, or the whole, you know, YMC. Okay, never mind. Head, of course, goes all the way around. Again, very posable, much more posable than the G1, and not a lot of kibble. All right, beast mode. Now the transformations are clever. One thing I will say is that the transformations for like Sludge and Slag, who make up arms, are very similar. Same thing with Scarr and Snarl. They are clever, they pay attention to detail, such as hiding the dino faces, or rather the robot faces. I mean, they hide all the faces, dino and robot. Now, one thing to be very aware of when transforming Sludge and Slag is that the hand for the large robot is built into them, and the thumb, you kind of have to move it out of the way, so it looks like a very off-center penis. You can curve it and minimize it, but that needs to be moved out of the way, and you need to be aware of that. But there is Sludge in his Brontosaurus mode, and I think it actually looks just as good as the G1 version. Right, Sky? Sky likes dinosaurs and Dinobots too. What do you think? Okay, she's not that much into Sludge. Sludge's mouth is one of the ones that does not open, so it's kind of a small head. But just like with Slag, the legs move, the tail does not. But it's clearly a Brontosaurus, looking good from all angles. From head to tail, it's actually about 7.5 inches long. Is that impressive or what, Sky? While the robot mode is pretty much 5.5 inches tall, because he's the same size as Slag. What do you think, Sky? So there you have Sludge. 2 more to go, and then the big guy. All right, this is Snarl, and he's got a big-ass cannon on his arm, which you can point in various ways. He's got an axe and a small shield. So he's ready to do all kinds of battle. And you can see a little bit of kibble as far as like the spines on his feet and legs. And you can see kind of the little tail here with the spines. But other than that, not a ton of kibble. And the transformation is not that different from the others. But posability-wise, again, full split, no ankle rockers, not able to kick forward or back very much, but side kick goes out well, twisting at the waist, arms go around, arms to the side. Pretty much they all have the same posability. And the transformation, other than the fact that this guy kind of goes in a slightly different direction as far as, actually, when you think about it, he's pretty much exactly the same type of transformation, which makes it easier for me and you. Slight differences because he doesn't have the thumb, but overall a very similar transformation. So there is Snarl in his dino mode. Again, he actually does have a little bit of tail articulation because this can move a little bit. The jaw does not open, which is a shame. So looks like the only one who got that upgrade other than Grimlock so far is Slag. But of course the arms move back and forth. Now in robot mode, he's about 5 inches tall. Dino mode, about a hair over 6.5. And as far as like storage of weapons is concerned, supposedly there's somewhere on the back you could put this. Now I have apparently knocked out one of the spines here in the front. And I also knocked out earlier one of the ones in the back and I replaced it. So I'm just gonna have to look around, maybe I'll spot it, but just be aware that these little spines can come out. But you can add the gun there, has a little peg on the side for the axe, if you wanna do some kind of weapon storage. And finally we have Scarr, who is obviously not a G1 style Autobot. He's basically an add-on because they're not using Swoop. I don't know why they decided not to use Swoop. Maybe it was just easier to figure out transformations of similar looking dinosaurs, but I'm not complaining too much. This Swoop still exists in many incarnations. He just doesn't happen to be with this one. So, same posability as the others. Splits, not good kicks forward and back, good kick to the side. A little toe articulation on this guy in Snarl. Arms go around, head goes around, twisting at the waist, everything's the same. Off to the sides. Well, let's get him into his beast mode so you can check out the final one. And so there is Scarr. Again, he's got the same tail articulation, just with a little ball here, as Snarl. You can put him around, and you can see all the angles. He's got the non-opening jaw, but the arms move, while the legs move. They're all legs now. They're all legs now, right? I mean, would I have wanted a Swoop? Yes, obviously. But this set was not very expensive. I'll reveal that pretty soon. And it's pretty cool for what you get. Almost 6.5 inches long, slightly shorter snout and tail, I guess, than Snarl. And you didn't show up in the movie at all. Bah! What do you think, Sky? You like him? Not original, I understand. But yeah, the transformations are clever, but they're not too complex. I know there are people who love super complex transformations. I like clever, but not gonna basically freak me out that I can't actually transform it, because there are some pretty complex transformers out there. So before we get into the combined mode, let's do a quick side-by-side with the original G1 Dinobots. So there is G1 Grimlock next to the Beast Mechanical version, and you can see there definitely is a lot more kibble on the G1, and they're similar in height, but the faces definitely look a bit different. Here is Slag and Slag. I don't call him Slug, I am sorry. UK friends who might find that Slag term to be offensive, but that is his name, and I'm sorry. But as you can see, a lot more kibble on the G1, but the faces, I mean, his is recessed in there. Face kind of looks similar, though he's got a silver face for the Beast Mechanical, as opposed to a totally black face, not blackface, but black face for Slag. G1 Sludge and the new Sludge. And obviously the G1s are also, while they may be similar in height, the G1s are bulkier overall. And finally Snarl and Snarl. You can see there's a good deal of difference between the forms. A lot more kibble on the G1, similar height. Both cool toys, glad I have both of them. And of course Scarr doesn't have a G1, so just one last look at him. All right, now's the time you've been waiting for. Merge into Beast Mechanicus. Volcanicus, it's fine. Now one thing I need to say about the Grimlock piece, as you can see he's mainly in main body mode, but one thing you need to do is actually pull this down, forms a gap here. If you don't do that, you can't really fully transform him. Drove me nuts. Shout out to the channel Tef, who also did a review on these guys and gave me that particular piece of information, without which I would be going fucking nuts. So check that channel out. So there he is in his merged form. It said something about Pentamass on the box. I hope that's not his name. I'm gonna just call him Volcanicus, alternate universe style. Now, you can see all the shields and Grimlock's big double gun. It actually almost looks like a Bruticus thing, sticks out the back. But wait, there's more. She's got a big red sword. The package shows it in silver, but red's okay by me. And that goes very nicely with a slot into his hand. So he's a pretty cool combiner. Everything except the individual weapons for the most part. Those aren't put in here, but everything else, the shields, everything, the fists come out of the actual figures. The feet are like, well, feet. You can see they're actually formed from these guys bending over. Very yoga, very yoga. But it's a very cool looking figure. Now, posability wise, now you actually have joints in Grimlock's legs so he can have a wider stance. He can kind of do a split if he wants to. I'm not going to attempt to toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. It might be possible, but I'm not going to try it with this combiner. He does not twist at the waist or anything. His head can turn quite a bit. The arms all the way around. Be careful he doesn't stab himself in the back of the leg, depending on how wide his stance is. It's a pretty clever way of merging them together, and he's a pretty cool bot overall. Now this guy goes for about $37 for the entire set with the box. You can save a little money if you decide to go without the box. Free shipping, plus applicable sales tax. That's what it is as of the time of recording this video. I'll put a link in the description for him. The fists definitely don't twist, but they're kind of semi-articulated in the fact that you have two fingers, and then the thumb. So you can actually do some stuff with that. So he's pretty cool, and putting him next to G1 Grimlock, or G1 Grimlock in front of him, he's a good height, you know? About twice the height of Grimlock. In fact, let's do a measurement. That's why I got this thing. From shoulder to feet, he's about 12 inches. So a foot tall warrior. The head is down a little bit, so that might be more like 10.5 inches. But from his massive shoulders, this is the only place where the heads kind of are seen. So I just have them facing inward and ignore them. But he's a very cool figure. I really like him. I think he's going to look very good next to my Volcanicuses and probably look better than them. Stays together well. I mean, the clamps in the back for the legs are kind of, I can see a little bit of stress around the plastic of one of them. So I wouldn't be very rough with this, merging him and taking him apart all the time. But that's really up to you. I mean, for 37 bucks, you can get a couple. You can get one to keep in his merged form, and then you can have the other ones just around. So there you have it, the Beast Mechanical Dinobot set, and their ability to merge and stab you with a really big sword, as long as Grimlock doesn't knock it out of his hand. Me, Grimlock, not need such big sword. Me, have much more confidence. Yeah, I guess this could be considered a sign of low self-esteem. Because of the twisting of the waist of these two figures, you can actually get a little bit of a swivel going there. You can bend, but not really. Well, actually, you can do kind of a side bend if you wanted to put the sword out like that. So no real traditional elbow, but you do have some ability to articulate. So it's not bad. Like I said, $38, putting a link in the description for this guy. And I really hope that you are enjoying these videos as much as I enjoy putting them together. And while you're mulling over this pretty inexpensive set, you can check out this video over here, which is a comparison between the Takara Volcanicus and an oversized multicolored knockoff Volcanicus. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.